Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Sarthak Show, where we discuss about tech, career, product and life. And today we are back with a part 2 of the podcast with Sanya. If you have not yet watched part 1, I will put link here somewhere, you can check that out first. And in this part 2, we will unravel a lot of different things about the interview process. What are the different things that act as a red flag for an interviewer from the candidate side, how you can avoid doing such negative things during an interview, what are the things that are probably asked in a typical interview at a good level company, and what are her take on succeeding and cracking these interviews, right? So stay tuned till the end of this video to know more about her life journey. And if you have not even subscribed to this channel here, please hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon near that so that you get a notification every time I put a new video. And till then, I would say without further ado, let's start with the video. As you mentioned clearly in the initial coding rounds, what they are expected to do is think out loud what their thinking process is, how they are approaching the problem in the right manner. Even if they are coming out with some brute force solution, they should tell it to the interviewer right then and there, and maybe they can mutually come to a better optimal solution. Because at the end of the day, whenever you are working on real life product, you might right away come with a brute force solution and then you will go towards the And as you mentioned, that are they able to pick up right hints or not, because that also makes sense in real life scenarios. You always ask for help with your senior software engineers or engineering managers, like how to approach this solution, how to tackle that problem. So even if you are taking hints and understanding and solving from that in the right perspective, makes sense to judge on basis of that. Are you able to pick hints or not? What kind of hints that you are required? And also, I think for any company that is working at scale and that is going to work at scale, it is very important to think of more optimized solutions. So even if you are coming with brute force, it is important to consider edge cases and work around what kind of time complexity or space complexity is going to come in the solution and how we can bring an optimal level for that. And as you mentioned, there is also a very critical round, which is technical communication round, because you are going to explain what you have written in resume or whatever the project you have worked on. So you are the best judge of it. The other person is going to judge based on how you are explaining. So it's just what kind of project that you have worked and how you are explaining it. And I think there is one key takeaway that you should not lie on your resume, right? Because the other person is very experienced in taking interviews and they will right away know that you are lying in this scenario. And this is not what exactly is reflecting in your resume, or this is how you are explaining the project. Because if you have worked on project, you can explain it in a good manner, like this is what I have worked on and this is what I have thought of. It makes sense.
Since I have taken interviews for this round, so I have also come across candidates who have explained their projects very well, very smoothly, and like I was able to understand each and everything that they explained. And to the contrary, I've also had an experience where the candidates were not able to explain the project of their choice. They claim that this is their favorite project, but then they are not able to explain properly. They don't know how things work there. Like if we just ask some cross questioning, like up and down, so they are not able to answer it. So you can easily catch that thing. So I've had both kind of experiences.
Right. And that is the place, because in the other rounds, I think it's totally expected on interviewer what kind of questions they are going to ask and how complex that could be. But for this particular round, I think you are the most prepared person, because that is a project that you have already worked on.
Exactly.
This is a no-brainer round. You know the question very well that you have to explain your project and that you have actually worked on. I think that is the best way where you can get all the brownie points and everything in this round, especially.
Yes. For example, if you get shortlisted for interview at LinkedIn, so the HRs, the recruiters are very helpful. They send out resources and materials for you to prepare. So they clearly communicate that these are the on-site rounds that will happen. They also tell that you will be expected this in CA1, then you will be expected this in CA2. And technical communication is also mentioned, that what you will be expected to explain in technical communication. So the candidate already knows that these are the rounds that will happen and what is expected out of each round. So they have enough time to prepare for these rounds. So you already are aware, you have a complete sheet that is shared with you, that these are the rounds that will happen and what the interviewer will look for in these rounds. So
correct. Yeah, makes sense. I think again, this is one thing, but what best I have heard from LinkedIn is because they tell you about every detail and process and feedback very clearly to the candidate.
Exactly.
Yeah, so why not best utilize it, like whatever resources available to you. As you mentioned that like these are scenarios, these are the interview process. What are some major red flags that you have observed, that people, common mistakes that they do in interview, and what, at least from your experiences, people have done that and they have not realized that this is the point where interviewer decided to reject them or not decided to move forward with them? What are those couple of common mistakes that you have observed in couple of interviews?
I think for the coding round, the red flag is if a candidate gets stuck in some question for complete 1 hour, because we don't ask any question that will ideally take 1 hour. We are expected to ask 2 questions in 1 hour. We are trying to drop hints and the candidate is not even able to pick up hints, not able to move to the right track, and then stuck for complete 1 hour. Then that's definitely a red flag. We decide not to move ahead with the candidate. Another thing that is there, for example, if they're not able to come up with an optimized solution, and not just coming up with an optimized solution, they don't know that the optimized solution will exist and the solution that they have given can be optimized in a lot of sense. There is a lack of even awareness that there is something better which exists and I can work on building that solution. And even if after a lot of discussions, the candidate is not convinced that, okay, how can this be solved with better than order of n squared? So I have had an experience with the candidate where he gave an order of n squared solution, even with a lot of discussion that I was having with him, that you just try to optimize it. Solution better than n squared definitely exists. If I am saying, he wasn't convinced, he was continuously thinking that how is this even possible? Candidate was not even convinced that there is something which is optimal that exists. So that is also a red flag in coding rounds. Then I think in design rounds, of course, if they're not able to build a scalable solution, then it's of course a red flag. And not just building a scalable solution, at least you should know what scalable solution will be, and at least you should build out a few components that are scalable. Since it's a 1 hour 15 minutes round, we don't expect that you build everything end to end which is completely flawless and everything. Of course there will be flaws, there will be loopholes, but if we are trying to optimize or working on some specific component, and then if I'm asking to scale that particular application or piece, then the candidate should be able to think on that terms. Because a lot of times what we have heard is that the candidates say that in my previous company, I haven't worked on scalable solutions. So I think that is a red flag. Even if you haven't worked on something which is scalable in your previous project, you should be able to think about it. I mean, you are a software engineer, you have 3-4 years of experience. So you should be able to think about those solutions, irrespective of whether you have worked on it in a live project or not. So that is also a red flag. And then in technical communication, of course, you know your project well. And if you're not able to explain it, if you're not able to answer cross questions that we are asking, of course, that is also a red flag.
Makes sense. I think these are very, very good things that you have highlighted that candidates make mistakes on. You should have that open mindset. If the interviewer is dropping hints and an optimal solution exists, you should be appreciating they might exist and I should look in that direction. Because arguing with the interviewer or not getting convinced with the interviewer is not going to bear any fruits for you. Keeping that open mindset approach and also blaming on your previous company or previous project or anything else is not going to look good on your part. It's actively advised that you should not blame on things, rather work on things or maybe solve the problem at hand, because blaming will not again give you this opportunity again.
Yeah, even if you haven't worked on it, think about it at that moment, right? Design round is also very interactive. So let's discuss about it. We have Swedes who have 3 to 4 years of experience in their previous company. So of course they can discuss about scalability irrespective of whether they have worked on scalable solutions in their previous projects or not. It's not an excuse that since you haven't worked on it, so you can't think of something which is scalable.
Right. Because at the end of the day, if you get hired and you start working on some project and you cannot say that I have not previously worked on a scalable solution, so I cannot make a scalable product in this company. Yeah, and I think that is where the interview makes a difference, because even in a face-to-face interview, you can ask questions, you can understand the problem better. This is more like a discussion, and that's where I appreciate, because interviewers are very friendly people. People have been very shit scared of the people around the other side of the table, but what I have felt that they are like friendliest people. You can discuss the problem that is coming to your mind, a solution coming to your mind, or wherever you are stuck. And I think they are very, very helpful in that sense. At least from my interview experiences, my friends' interview experiences, I can assure you that if you start doing those discussions, you will come to a solution irrespective of you have ever faced that problem or not. That is my hot
Exactly. Yeah. The discussions definitely help, and you discuss within your team members also like different designs and everything. So that's also through some discussion only. So of course, if you discuss with the interviewer also, be it LinkedIn or in any other company, you will definitely come to some good solution. But it's important to discuss. It's important to communicate your thoughts.
Yeah, right. And at the end of the day, as much as you are looking for a job, LinkedIn or the interviewer is also looking to hire you as a candidate. You should not give any reasons from your side to reject you. It should be more like you should try your best, because they are also looking to hire a great candidate like you. So yeah, I think very well summarized on this part. So yeah, moving forward, I have one very big question around this as well. What exactly candidate do? Maybe apply or whatever they can do their best to get hired at companies like LinkedIn and others in the current scenarios. What are the things that they can do as a college student or a 1 year, 2 year professional?
Yeah, so I think even if you are a college student or a 1 year, 2 year professional, since I just mentioned about the different rounds that happen at LinkedIn, and similar rounds happen in other companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Coding rounds are common in every company. Design rounds are common in every company. So these are the two important things that you should prepare for. For coding, you should know data structures and algorithms. So at least you should know the basics of all the data structures that exist, like arrays, tags, queues, linked lists, trees, graphs. So you should be aware of all these data structures. You should be able to know the basics of everything, and then you can always solve coding questions on different platforms like LeetCode. So one thing that I would recommend is LeetCode is a platform where it's a compilation of all the different interview questions that have been asked in all the different companies. So that gives you a very good flavor of how the coding questions will look like in a company. Practicing coding is very important, specifically if you are an engineering student, you are just starting off. I would recommend, along with your academics, along with your projects and everything, do take out some time to do coding questions, because that is the thing that will help you clear coding rounds in different companies. And then when it comes to the design round, so of course there are a lot of different resources available on internet. There are a lot of good websites where you can go through the different large scale designs or components like Instagram or WhatsApp or Facebook. For example, like Book My Show, Uber. So there are a lot of video tutorials also available. So you can just go through those video tutorials, just make a note of the design. Suppose if you go through 5 design questions, and if you are asked something which you haven't gone through, some 6th question, but still if you have studied those 5 design questions, then it will help you to think in that direction. It will help you to list down the functional requirements, non-functional requirements. It will help you to think in the direction of scalability, availability, fault tolerance. So it's not like you can study the exact question that you are going to get asked in an interview question, but preparing few questions, like few standard design problems, can help you crack the design round. So yeah, my advice would be to definitely practice coding and practice design very well. And of course, for the technical communication round, always mention something in your resume which you know, which you can explain well. Never lie in your resume, that's for sure.
That is so true. I think never lie on your resume and practice as much as you can on the coding contest and design rounds. There are plethora of resources available on internet and quite a ton of videos on YouTube on how design rounds are to be solved, what kind of questions that you can expect, and how to answer them in the best way possible, right? Yeah, all the candidates who are listening in, just for the right resources, scour the internet as much as you can, do your best. I think what Sanya has told today, we have learned a lot about how the interview process, and this can be not only restricted to LinkedIn, because in my experiences, and also as she has mentioned in her experiences, this is more like typically similar rounds with any other company out there, any MNC that is going to hire candidates. So yeah, that is how you should practice and take the roadmap forward.
Yes.
We are at the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Sanya, for sharing all of these details. I hope candidates were able to utilize all of these things, and it will be very, very helpful for the audience. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule and sharing these details in so much depth that at least I was able to get a little amount of learning from this. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sarthak, for having me. And in fact, I hope the tips and tricks that I've shared in the different hiring process and how you can prepare for it, I hope it helps all the engineering students and the professionals out there to apply for different companies, and sure they'll be able to crack different rounds as well. One thing that I would like to mention is that it's a great thing that you are having such discussions on your platform. If people can share their experiences, and it helps different people who are listening to these podcasts and videos, I think it's a very good thing that you've taken up problems that people generally face, the different questions that have been asked to you, and then you bring someone on your platform and then discuss on that issue, and it helps a lot of other people. So I think it's something which is very great that is happening. I think earlier this wasn't very common, I think 4-5 years back, but now it has become, there are a lot of things that are happening on YouTube and other platforms. So I think definitely it should help out a lot of people there.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting this.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to folks like you who are always interested in helping the community and sharing these life journeys. Definitely the right to credit deserves to you as well. Thank you so much for sharing all of these information. All the audience who are listening in, I will put her LinkedIn link in the description below, and check that out and connect with her for more information. Till then, take care. I will see you in the next video. Bye.